All right, everyone, it looks like I am live now. I have been watching the live chat as you guys have already been in here and chatting, and it really means the world to me to see all of these amazing names that I recognize in here. So hello to everyone. Crystal, Elizabeth, Janine, there's so many amazing people in here that I see all the time. So I really want to thank you guys all so much for your support. And to everyone joining in right now when they got the notification, thank you so much. I see Ranger is here. And it is a very, very exciting release day to end off the year of Simon Hurley Create. We're really releasing some new colors, as you guys probably heard, 5 new ink colors, which is just so exciting for me to add to the line of inks. And then also, we are kind of tying up all the loose ends of stamps and stencils and things like that. As you guys know, a couple people have talked about it, but this year has been kind of crazy with making products because we could be waiting for something that coordinates for something and it doesn't arrive for months after. But we want to still give you guys the products on time. So, like I said, this is really tying everything up. You're going to have some coordinating products in here, some really cool things that we've been working on all year, but they just have been stuck on a ship. And I can hardly tell you guys, there's some amazing things coming next year too that we're still waiting on. But really exciting to finish off the year with kind of a bang with the inks and then tying everything up together. So, hey everyone, thank you all so much for joining in. The products will go live at 12:15 Eastern, so I'll leave a link right when that happens, but we like to kind of walk you guys through all the products first so you can see exactly how they are before the big rush happens when you guys go over to look at them. All right, so let's turn down to my desk and let's talk about new ink colors. For the first new ink color, we have Love Struck. And this is one of the ones, if you guys know, if you guys have been following along, we were supposed to have 2 ink pads in the Christmas release, but the lids were a little bit too tight. And we are all about quality at Ranger. I'm just always amazed by their quality control. And then me too, I'm a big perfectionist. So together, we won't release anything that is bad on purpose. And I'm glad that these didn't leave the factory, but we've actually fixed all the molds and they open like a dream now, and they have just the perfect seal on them so that they're still airtight, but not too tight because we wanted you to be able to use your ink pads. All right, so we fixed that problem just to let you know. And first we have Love Struck. I am just amazed by this color. Look at that. So Love Struck is this kind of really nice berry red. None of the other colors in the line are like this. Bee Sting is a similar kind of saturation of color where it has the same kind of intensity, but they're very different shades of red when you see them up next to each other. So don't ever think that when I hold one of these on screen, you're like, oh, that looks kind of similar. I'll show you guys, I'll compare them together. They're really different colors. And I love the almost Christmas red of Love Struck. And when you fade it out, it almost turns into a little bit of a berry pink kind of color. So it's right in between of red and pink, and I absolutely am in love with this color. And like I said, I'm going to pull out all the comparisons in just a second to really show you guys the difference. All right, now let's talk about Roar. This color is so awesome, and I have some explaining to do for myself. When I first released the line, Ranger really has us release things that we want to personally use. And I despised the color orange when I first launched about 3 years ago. That's crazy, it's been 3 years already. But when I launched Traffic Cone, which is more of a pinkish orange color, and I never wanted a real orange. Today is finally the day. You guys are getting a real bright and vibrant orange. I absolutely love Roar and how it turned out. And honestly, over those past 3 years that we've launched, orange has become one of my favorite colors. And Roar is just this super vibrant and intense, the perfect medium orange hue, and I absolutely love it. We've had Guppy, which is more of a yellow orange. I used to love yellow oranges. And this fills in that line perfectly. So yes, if you guys have been waiting patiently for an orange, it's finally here, and I'm a big fan of orange now. So yes, Roar is the real orange in the line. And I think in the future, we're gonna have to have some muted oranges and things like that because, like I'm telling you guys, I have become a big fan of orange over the past couple years. Una says she doesn't really like orange either. Una, just use it in your card making. You're going to be shocked and surprised at how beautiful that color is with others. All right, shooting star. Again, we've got a real yellow. Once again, I wasn't a huge fan of super bright and vibrant yellows, but when I released Slippery When Wet, I was really happy with kind of that dirty mustardy color. But over time, I've wanted something a little bit brighter. And when you get to use a product line for a while, you're like, oh, I think we're missing this. And we were definitely missing shooting star. The camera isn't even doing this justice. It is the perfect, super bright yellow for creating nighttime skies and creating super bright lights. It is just so stunning, so bright. And like I said, you guys are gonna be able to see when I compare these colors all together with the rest of the line, you'll see that this release was so needed to kind of fill in some gaps in the line. So shooting star, amazing. Bright yellow. All right, next let's talk about Viper. And again, this one was supposed to be in that Christmas release, so this does go along really well with Christmas colors and was kind of its intention. Viper is this stunning olivey green color. When it first goes on, when all these colors first go on, that's why I do these swatches in advance. When they first go on, they need a little bit of time to sink into the cardstock, and then they kind of change tones a little bit. So these are all the tones you're gonna get once it's all dried into the cardstock and completed. And you're gonna, of course, get different looks on different cardstocks, but I'll show you guys the Stark White cardstock. So Viper is just this beautiful green color stamped out, and then look at that blended. You can get sort of that lighter tone of olive, but then you can get that deep, rich olive tone. And this is gonna be beautiful for leaves and things like that. I've had like yellowier greens in the past, and so this really fills out the line. It is a yellow green, but it's more of an earthy tone, I guess. So it definitely does still have yellow in it, but it's this earthy tone, so it's really gonna be beautiful for leaves and things like that, which I am obsessed with using Viper for. It's, again, yeah, more of that earthy look. And then last but not least, we have No Diving. I am a huge fan of blues, and this blue is no exception. Once again, we needed to fill in a section of the line. We've had a lot of blues that are green blues, and this is the perfect blue hue. It's kind of in the family of breakup blue, but it's quite a bit darker than breakup blue. So here is a look at No Diving. How cool is that? I just love naming these colors. I feel like it's so much fun. But No Diving is just this perfect like watery blue, but it's kind of got a bright intensity to it. I wanted all these colors to be bright and vibrant. At the beginning, when I first launched my line, we had some vibrant colors in there, but they were also a little bit muted. Like they weren't too in your face and bright. And these still follow that, but they've got a nice intensity and saturation to them. So you can really keep it light if you want to, but you can also build up the color. So it's important to me to have those intense colors so you can really have playtime and options with the different colors that you do. And I also wanted to share with you guys, these swatches are all done on my Simon Hurley Create Stark White cardstock. And I want to show you guys what's so important with the Stark White cardstock, because you can visit Ranger and it's up on there, and it's going to be really great for blending with inks. So if you guys struggle, this might be your reason. And I'm not even trying to be a salesman here. This is just, it was a big find for me. When I first had my product line and we were looking through cardstocks, I tested probably 80 until I found this perfect Stark White cardstock. And the reason why I love it so much is some cardstocks, and this one actually happened to be the one that I used for 5 years before I started my product line. And then I realized, you know, it's not really giving me the best results. So this is the same exact color. It's Prom Queen. But you can see in here, this is the Stark White, and you can really build up the color and get a really intense blend because it's sinking into the cardstock and it's taking all that color really nice and vibrantly. Whereas on here, you can see that this color is not nearly as intense. And I blended just as many, if not more layers, but it doesn't really sink into the cardstock. And because of that, it gets fingerprints too, because you're lifting off that ink that's on the surface. So that's why if you've been struggling with fingerprints and not getting that saturated intensity that you want, this is really your way to go. I encourage you guys to just try a pack. If you're not pleased with it, you know, go back to whatever cardstock you were using, but it's just so intense white and it takes that color beautifully. So it really does give the solid look that you really want. So that's why I love my cardstock. I just craft with it every day and it's become just such an amazing surface to work on for me. All right, so Love Struck. Love Struck, honestly, is this beautiful in-between of all these colors. You guys can see Bee Sting is this bright and saturated kind of mid-tone red color. And like I said, this has a little bit, it's a little bit darker. It honestly could go in between Game Over or both of these because it's got a pink hue to it too. But it fills in this really beautifully because of course it's gonna work well for layering with Bee Sting. But also if you want more of a pinky hue but not to be prom queen, that's where Love Struck comes in handy. So that's why I love that color. Again, it looks similar until you see it together and you're gonna realize, wow, there's a lot of different applications that I might want Love Struck more. And when you water this down too, it becomes a lot pinker, whereas this kind of breaks down to still stay a little bit red. All right, now let's talk about Roar. Like I said, guys, Roar was so necessary. Traffic Cone, a little bit dull, a little bit on that pinkier side, a little bit of that salmon hue. We have Guppy, which I thought was my orange, right? I was like, that is the perfect orange. But Roar really came in handy when I started to absolutely love oranges. And you guys are gonna get so much use out of this beautiful and saturated color. I love it. Yes, someone said love to experiment with colors. Yes, play along with your colors. You're gonna really find that you can come up with a lot of amazing blends that you wouldn't usually think of. Shooting Star is an amazing yellow color. Right, guys, look at that in comparison. Look at Slippery When Wet, not even a comparison to that color. Over the Moon, not even similar at all. Over the Moon is kind of that dull and more muted pastel color, whereas Shooting Star keeps that intensity, keeps that vibrance, and is just a really bright and pure yellow. It almost is in a totally different family than these two yellows, to be honest. Like, we can't even compare. It fills in such a big gap in the line. No Diving. Again, guys, fills in a ginormous gap in the line. We have our yellow or our green blues up here, Clear Skies and Remember Me. Then we're going into more of our purplish and kind of cooler blues, and No Diving fits kind of perfectly in between there. And like I said, these are a little bit more muted anyway. So No Diving kind of fits in between, but also gives you that nice intensity that you want with your colors to give you lots of different options, whether you blend it lighter or darker, to give you different kind of color options in there. So love this. And then of course we have Viper, and again it's in a color family of its own. It kind of sort of fits along with Psych. They're both the yellow-green colors, but Viper is a lot dirtier of a green. It's got a lot more green to it. So with that being said, it's going to layer nicely on top of each other. You can get some really beautiful blends between those two. And like I said, then the rest of them are they're all yellow greens, but they're not as olive-y of tones, right? These are more generic kind of greens, whereas these give you that nice olive hue to them. Sometimes it's difficult to tell you exactly what these colors look like, but I think just by seeing them, I'm a really visual person too, and I think by seeing them, you guys are going to get a really great grasp of how they fit into the line. And these swatches aren't all of the colors in the line. I didn't feel the need to, show you Minty Fresh or any colors, the purples either, that weren't really added to it. So I really just compared with the colors that are next to it, so you can really see how they kind of compare with each other on the list there. All right, it's getting close to the time. Yes, Psych and Shooting Star, sure, let's do it. Completely different. You honestly could use Shooting Star as a lighter version of Psych if you want to. It's got less green to it, but it would still definitely work as a layer. That was a great observation. Yeah, they're similar, but this one's a lot lighter and a lot less green hue to it. It's a lot more yellow. For some reason on camera, it's picking up as kind of a greenish hue. It's struggling with what to do with it, but it's more sunshiny in real life because I see what you guys are seeing where it kind of looks like that, but it's not even really a comparison in real life, but sometimes cameras do some weird things. All right, guys. So, yes, TV colors are a little bit off, as Elizabeth says. So yeah, you'll get them in person and you'll see. You might be able to see a little bit better on the site as well, because sometimes cameras do a little bit of weird things with white balance and stuff like that. Sandra says, can't wait to work with them. Yes, I am just so excited for you guys to get your hands on them and see all of the amazing blends and things you could do with them now that they are really filling in lots of gaps. Oh, I really just showed you all of that. I meant to pull on just one thing. All right, so you guys know this stamp we released earlier on in the year. with the slimline release. So this is called Bold Blossoms, and it was a beautiful slimline stamp that you could, of course, take your time and color in and do some really awesome things. It also has peel apart sections, so part of these kind of peel out, and you can use the stamps on their own, which is really awesome as well. All right, guys, it's 12:15. I'm cutting myself off here, and I'm going to post a link in the chat. That link is where you guys can go shopping if you want right now to grab some of these items, and that link also helps me out to support me, so I really encourage if you guys use that, it really helps me out. All right, so this is the Bold Blossom stamp, and we were once again waiting on things to come in, and we have the Bold Blossoms layering stencil. This is so exciting, guys. It really gives you a ton of different opportunities to color this in a lot easier, which is just so much fun. I've really fallen in love with coloring in with stencils this year. It's been a really great thing to do, and having those matching layering stencils to make things really easy has been so awesome for me. So these stencils are, what are they? They're 4 by 9 inches, so they're a little bit bigger than a slimline, so you're going to have some overhang so that you don't get any ink on the edges. But there is 3 stencils in here, and the flowers and leaves are totally separate, so you can do your colors and then you can do your greens separately and get a really beautiful blend. And I'm going to show you more in depth on this stencil in a little bit. Ranger does a really great job at making their stencil, making sure they're really perfect and not going to break on you. So I want to walk you through that in just a second. Then let's talk about the next layering stencil that was stuck on the ship. This was also supposed to be in the slimline release, but it's a nice little gift here. So this one is called Mosaic Florals. It is a 2-piece layering stencil, and you guys can already see in the packaging, this is just stunning. So, of course, you could do your flowers separately. You can honestly just do the flowers by themselves on a slimline card like that, but then you also have this beautiful mosaic pattern, which just transfers so stunning. I love it. So we got all of those as tiny as they can be so they can still fill in and give you that really beautiful small details. And like I said, Ranger does a great job at making sure their stencils are perfect, and I'll walk you guys through that in a second. Una says, oh, I didn't know there was more than ink today. Bonus. Yes, I didn't really share much about this stuff, but it is very exciting. So this is Going Places. Is what this stencil is called, and it's got these fun little hot air balloons and some clouds in here. And you guys are like, oh, this is kind of a basic stencil, right? Well, not so fast, because we have a Going Places stamp set to go along with it. And again, these are meant to go in and color these images in perfectly. So you have them to line up really easily, and with that small hot air balloon, and then we got some clouds to go along with it. So that stencil is really awesome, super fun, and I'll share with you guys how you can make it line up, and also why we didn't add so much detail. I'm going to show you guys what you can do to really add a lot more detail in there. But let's take a closer look at this stamp set. Once again, this was supposed to be released with the slimline release, but full transparency, we messed up one of the sentiments. Oh, guys, this is the bad sentiment set. Give me 1 second. Of course, with my luck, I was still using the sentiment set that we had messed up on. Big applause to me for that. Let me pull out this set. So this is Going Places. So, full transparency now, because, well, I obviously showed it to you, we messed up one of the sentiments down here. And instead of sending it out like that, we decided to go in, we kept all of the stamps, and we printed out new backing sheets for them so that you guys can have the fixed stamps. We wanted to make sure everything was fixed. Someone at Ranger was so amazing. Can you imagine? They pulled off all these stamps and redid them for you guys. So really big shout out to Ranger and everybody there. They did an amazing job. And now, to say the least, we have a more thorough checking process as well, which is really awesome. They're amazing with helping out with stuff like that. But we make sure that everything is spelled correctly now through several people before we make the stamp set. So we've got those big hot air balloons. We've got the bench, and this bench you can stamp inside of it to color it in as well, which I love images like that. You've got Artie the bear, of course. We got to make it a little bit Simon Hurley creative. So we've got some critters in here, a cat and a dog as well. And those guys fit perfectly in these hot air balloons, which is so much fun. We've got some more cartoonish kind of trees. I thought those were so fun and adorable to make them not so realistic. Of course, we've got some little tiny birds. You can stamp these inside of the air balloon baskets to give them some texture. And then lots of amazing sentiments like flying by to say, and you can put I love you, thank you, miss you, happy birthday, hi. And we have some encouraging things like you're going places, never give up, you've got this. Brighter skies are ahead, and every day may not be good, but there's good in every day. And I love that sentiment. So encouraging. My favorite sentiments are where you can send some really amazing, encouraging cards that people need at those times that aren't super expected either, but they just really brighten someone's day. And so I really try to put some of those in every stamp set. That's hilarious. Yeah, this is the fixed sentiment. I was crafting along with the sentiment set that was not fixed. All right, guys, next we have rectangle blends. And you guys might be saying, well, there's a couple stencils like this already in the industry, so I don't know if I need this one. The difference between this stencil set and the ones that are also in the industry is this was sized perfectly to fit along with the stamping foam. So your stamping foam is going to fit perfectly inside of here. Like I said, guys, in the past, you might want to pick up another pack of stamping foam while you're on the site. It's at a great price point and you get it in a pack of 4. But the stamping foam, as you heat it, has a tendency to kind of shrink down on the edges. It's not a bad thing, but over time you might want to replace it so that it still works with products like this where we make it to fit specifically with the stamping foam. And you might just want to keep 1 or 2 stamping foams that you dedicate to this and keeping them clean. So it's got a couple guides along the edges so you can match it up with your A2 size card and stencil it perfectly in the center. But this also comes with the mask, so you can ink this up and do a cool watercolor effect. There's lots of things you could do with it. This is actually attached when you first get it at a couple little tiny points, and all you need to do is either cut in there and snip it off, or just go in and kind of pull it out. It should pop out pretty easily because it's only attached at a couple tiny little points, but you get this really awesome stencil and mask. And then of course also you can mask off what you've created and then blend another background behind it. So there's lots of different things you can do with this. And I also wanted to point out, you can use this by itself without the stamping foam and do a really awesome blend. And then you can, well, use a stamp set along with it and stamp inside of there. So this is the Nature Silhouette stamp set. I actually designed this before the Christmas silhouettes. We just recently released the Christmas silhouettes. My stamp set is honestly already really well loved, but it's got Santa and his reindeer over the trees, it's got a snowman, and the nativity scene. And these sets are really amazing for using along with the stamping foam or using along with the new Rectangle Blends stencil to create some really amazing silhouette scenes. And of course, some people were asking me about the snowman, why he would be black. Well, of course, you could heat and emboss this in white as well, and then stamp it in that as well. So there's lots of different options you can do. I'm going to share really how I stretched this stamp set too with some of the samples to show you all the different things you can do with it. But it's got a really beautiful and detailed mountainscape. It's got those amazing trees in there. Sometimes you guys will get designs like here. You got the tops of those trees. But now we're filling in the stamp, and you've got all of those amazing trees to create a full forest there. And then we have this beautiful, just stunning lighthouse image with someone going fishing there. I love that. So this is more meant to be kind of an outdoorsy stamp set, but I've seen some other outdoorsy stamp sets where it's just like nature, like for only people who like outdoors, but I think this one is really encouraging as well. I'm going to read you some of the sentiments. So of course we got some sentiments like gone fishing, nature is calling, and I must go. But I also wanted some things that are a little bit more encouraging. So the best adventures happen without Wi-Fi. I thought that one was fun. Keep shining, the world needs your light. That is super encouraging to go along with the lighthouse. The best view comes after the hardest climb. I think that is amazing. Remember that trees lose their leaves every year and remain standing tall, waiting for better days. That is just amazing. And then enjoy the little things in life, because someday you'll look back and realize they were the big things. That is just so awesome and encouraging. And yes, I love this. This stamp set is just so much fun. And with these stamps, they are just so easy to use. As I've been going along designing stamps, I've been making things easier and easier because it's what I love to use on my card making projects. So of course, if I can make a beautiful inked background and stamp over top of it with an image like this, that is what I love about card making. So let's go in now and show you guys all of the different card samples that we've created. So let's start off with first the Nature Silhouettes stamp set. So this one, I actually did the ink blending. I didn't use the foam. I actually went in with the rectangle blends stencil, and you guys can see how you can really go in and decide where you want all that ink to be and go in and do some blending, which I think is awesome. I added a little bit of water on there because my inks will react with that water, and then I stamped down that lighthouse and the guy going fishing with some black ink and heat embossed that. So stunning. And I just added that sentiment, keep shining, the world needs your light. I think that that really finishes it off nicely and gives some beautiful encouragement as well to whoever receives this card. All right, next we used the tree image from that same Nature Silhouette stamp set. But here, I stamped the tree image into the foam. So I impressed it into the stamping foam. Then I did my background, so you get a little bit of a subtle kind of treescape there. And then I went in with a black ink pad and again, stamped down that tree image. I first stamped it off onto another piece of cardstock, and then I stamped the second image here. So it's almost like a shadowed image. I didn't want it to be too bright and bold to kind of take over the image, but I found that that really gives a nice background. And of course, stagger these trees like this and you get a really beautiful forest look, which is just amazing. Remember that the trees lose their leaves every year and remain standing tall, waiting for better days. I love that sentiment. And then Viper is of course used around here to finish that off. Guys, I forgot to even tell you, yeah. There's a lot of different inks that are used in here too. So we've got Roar, we've got a little bit of Shooting Star, and that really finishes that off. And I think I even used a little bit of No Diving in here. And then finish it off with Midnight Snack. Here we've got a lot of the new colors. I used Love Struck, and like I said, with a little bit of water, it turns a little bit more of a berry pinkish color. We've got Roar and then Shooting Star at the top. And we used that beautiful mountainscape. Here again, I stamped the trees into the foam, did that background. So of course, that's where the foam comes in handy. If you want there to be some texture in the background or some fun little things that are not as noticeable, if you want to use a background stamp or something, and then stamp the mountainscape right in front of it and use the sentiment that says the best view comes after the hardest climb. I just love that sentiment. Lots of you guys are loving these silhouette images, and yes, Cindy said, love that scene, it's great for a guy card, and I would agree. If you struggle making masculine cards, these are really great for them. It's not too in your face, but it's really great for kind of outdoorsy if, you know, the person likes that, or like I said, again, really encouraging cards. I think they're just simple and beautiful scenescapes, so you can really use them to just encourage somebody, and they're just beautiful. All right. Next we have Going Places. Here I mixed together Going Places. I stamped down those two large hot air balloons. And like I said, I'll show you guys how to do this to get those textures in there because that is so much fun. And then of course I did the sentiment, you're going places, never give up, you got this. And then I used the Going Places stencil to fill that in and do some ink blending and coloring on there as well. So yeah, I love how this one turned out. And then I used the Scene Maker stencil too, which you can find again at Ranger in my line, to do those clouds in the background with a little bit of No Diving. And again, lots of the different colors in here. We got Viper, a little bit of No Diving in there. We've got some Love Struck, some Roar, and Shooting Star. That's one of my favorite color combinations. Love Struck, Roar, and Shooting Star, and even adding a little bit of Crown Me at the bottom. Just beautiful. All right, next let's go into Bold Blossoms. And this stencil is absolutely amazing. I love it so, so much. And I'm gonna show you guys I'm gonna walk you through as I use it in a little bit, how to get this kind of effect as you go through. Lots of amazing blending and shading using some of the new colors. And then of course, all the layers are different, so you can really create different colors on there and create your own looks. Here, I simplified it down. I used that slimline stamp, but I did it on an A2 size card. And here I used the stamp along with the stencil, so you can really see how that matches up. I also added a little bit of that Bee Sting Lunar Paste right into the center there. So you get just a little bit of subtle shine which I think is awesome. In person, it shows up even more than it is on camera. And last but not least, I think you guys are gonna be wowed by this one. I did just stenciling on this card, but I stenciled this stencil lots of times. I did tons of blending and stenciling with it, and I hand cut out those layers and layered them up to create this really stunning and gorgeous card. So on these larger ones, I did 2 different layers on top, that larger one and then one of the smaller flowers. I just cut them out and put them on top. And then with this medium-sized one, I just did one of the smaller flowers and added that on top. These have a gem on them as well, on the center of all of them, which is just gorgeous. And then of course you could do the leaves in a different color. So here I used, I think, a little bit of Later Gator and then a little bit of Viper in there for some of that darker shading. And this is a sentiment from a different set. It's called, let's see, it's this one. I love this scent. It's called Lovely Lantanas, and it's got a lot of encouraging sentiments in this stunning font. I love this font choice. All right, guys, so that is the Bold Blossoms. I love how that looks. And now I'm gonna add that link in there again if you guys would like to visit the site and support me with that link. And then last but not least, again, this is from that Lovely Lantana stamp set. I love the You Are So Much Stronger Than You Think. But this card can be so simple. This is using the, what did I call it? Mosaic florals. I love it. I had the idea to do that mosaic background. Look at all the amazing details in there. Is my camera gonna focus? I mean, like, that is just stunning. So many amazing little areas in there to blend. Of course, you can go in with 2 different colors because the flower is a different layer than the background. And you also have options to just go in with just the flowers and leave the background out. So there's a lot of versatility when it comes to these layering stencils, which is something that I love about it as well. It's just so much fun to get these beautiful blends. And then of course, again, guys, Love Struck, Roar, Shooting Star. If you get any colors, those are some of my faves. And then of course, No Diving is in the background here. We've got a little bit of Viper. I mixed it in with some Clear Skies and some Minty Fresh. So lots of different colors. And yeah, I'm just so glad that Ranger allowed me to do that. I want to give a huge shout out to the Ranger team. It's not often that I get to release all those different colors and stamps at once, but I think it really gives a nice wrap up to the end of the year. You guys get something exciting, and of course we'll be back next year with more stuff. So let's turn on my work surface now and get into using some of these supplies and really demonstrating them and crafting with you guys. So let's go down. I've already stamped and heat embossed the Bold Blossoms stamped image. So again, this is that peel apart background stamp. It fits on a slimline card, but this is the size that it is. So this is the 3.5 by 8.5. And then it fits there with a little bit of a border. And all of our products too are designed to fit the this size of the slimline. So they are designed to fit the 3.5 by 8.5, but of course you could make a larger one as well and just have a little bit of a border around it too. So here is that Slimline Bold Blossoms stencil set. It comes with 3 different stencils inside of it. And let's go in and start our blending. So today I wanted to show you guys how to do it over top of the image and line things up like that, but there's other ways that you can use these stencils as well. One of the ways is to go in, and I'll show this in a future video too, but you can go in with, this is a piece of cardstock that is 4 inches by 9 inches. And this matches up perfectly with the stencil then. So then all you need to do is tape it at the top and bottom. And then it's no doubt, all you have to do, go in with this layer, ink blend it, pull it off, go in with this next layer, line it up like that. And because it's just lined up with the edges, it's gonna line up perfectly. You guys can see it lines up perfectly on top of each other like that. So that's one way to have a no guess system with lining things up. Usually I recommend using stencils in the MISTI, but these are a little bit too big to fit in the MISTI stamping tool. So that's why I'm not recommending that with these, but you can just line them up with your cardstock. So all I'm gonna do today is go in, bring in a little bit of my mint tape, and we're going to just add a little bit of tape to the backside. This is another way to do it. And then this is just going to grab the stencil. You could of course use pixie spray if you'd like to. Sometimes I just like keeping my stencils clean and free of that stuff though. And I just use a little bit of mint tape. It's been one of my favorite ways to adhere down the stencils. And then we can go in and line everything up super easily on top of that image. So all you gotta do, line everything up and then press it all down there. It's still pretty no guess when it comes to lining these images up. Just gotta make sure that it fits inside of there. And it's a little bit of a whimsical image, so if you don't get it lined up perfect, that is totally not a problem, because you guys can see it's got some thicker and thinner lines. It's really not drawn to be perfection, but we did our best job that we could to make sure that this lines up, guys. This went through several tests to really make sure that the stencils were gonna work perfectly and that they were going to not rip, and I'll show you guys that in a second. So let's go in with, I'm gonna pull all these swatches off because they're all over my inks now, and I've got to get into using them now. All right, so let's go in with a little bit of Shooting Star. I want to show you guys. This color combination is everything. Also, look at that ink pad. It is the brightest yellow ink pad I've seen. Usually, like with the ink pads, it's a dye-based ink, so you can kind of tell what that color is going to be, but like here, it's like, that's yellow. That's yellow, and there's no doubt about it. So sometimes with these kind of things, I like to go in with a blending brush, but of course you could use a regular blending tool, and I'll bring in the blending tool when I do a little bit of shading. But sometimes I find that when you're doing things with a little bit of detail like this, brushes are just a little bit easier to get into all of that amazing detail on the stencil. All right, so I'll go in with a little bit of that Shooting Star. Just go in and blend that out. And of course, you guys could stop right here, right? That's where the layering stencil is made to do. It's made to be easy, so if you just wanna leave it there, that's up to you. You totally could do that. But I like to go in, bring in a second color. Here I'm bringing in a little bit of Roar, and I'm gonna go in with just the tip of my blending tool and add a little bit of color to the center of these flowers. So just go in and add some color in there. And it's really easy to blend and shade. It doesn't take much hard work or effort. And again, using that stark white cardstock is gonna allow you to really layer out these colors, and it's gonna take that ink beautifully and not just give you like a one-dimensional look. Like, you really can get that depth and dimension with adding the shading that you want, which is really important to me when I chose this cardstock. All right, so it takes a little bit of time, but like, guys, imagine this versus going in and coloring it with markers or watercolors. Like, it takes eons compared to how easy this is to color things in. So that's what I love about these stencils. It just makes life so much easier when I want to go in and just get a quick card. And I also love blending. Like, I find that I can blend a lot easier with these inks than I can go in and just do watercoloring or whatever else it may be with markers or anything like that. I find that this is the easiest way for me. So now I'm gonna go in and use Ranger's detail blending tools. Mine are definitely well loved. I've got quite a few sets of these, but they're really inexpensive and they got dual sides to them. So we can go in and add a little bit of red just right into the center. All you need is just a little dab of that Love Struck, and that's gonna finish it off. And yeah, I like this red for like things like this, where I want it to look more florally, or like I said, it's kind of that great berry red. It's great for Christmas. It's not too in your face, but it's just that great color. All right, I'm gonna leave the little ones without any red in the center. Just gonna give the shading to the largest and medium-sized flowers. All right. How cool is that, guys? So simple too, right? All right, so I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna lift this off. You can go in and clean your stencils. You guys can see just how well that lines up with your image on there. And then all you gotta do is spray this down with a little bit of water and clean it off. Yes, Annie said I'd much rather blend than color with markers. I agree with you, Annie. So this is when I'm talking with Ranger, right? They're really awesome in making their stencils, and so is our manufacturer for the stencils, because we were going to try to do all of these leaves on one layer. And I know some companies do that, and they get away with it, but I've used some stencils and had them rip on me. So I didn't have too much of a pull on this. It wasn't a big bother to me because I'm kind of careful with my stencils, but we were all talking and we were like, you know what? We want anybody who uses our stencil to really be able to use it without worrying that it's going to rip if they're cleaning it, or if things are too close, they're going to tear into each other. So that's why we did this in 2 separate layers. We're not trying to charge you more for the stencil, but look, it gets too close. And I know, like I said, some people would get away with that, but these leaves just get too close up together. So we had to separate them out into 2 in order to have some peace of mind that your stencils aren't going to rip when you get them on hand. And you can be pretty rough with them, and they're not going to rip apart the design, which is awesome. I do still encourage you guys to be kind of careful with your stencils, but I know that that's not always the case when you're cleaning them, or sometimes a blending tool can catch. So we do try to really ensure that you guys are going to have the best experience with the stencils. And like, we were about to release another design too, but it just got too close and it just wasn't the quality that we wanted to release. So we didn't go forward with that one. So yeah, we just like to make sure, and sometimes it's my team, sometimes it's me. We all point out different things, and they were really encouraging on this, and I'm really glad that we did separate it out into different layers like that. All right, so there's a couple different things you could do with the leaves. One thing that I want to show you guys that's really exciting about these inks is if you tap off on your work surface or anything like that, you can get rid of some of that excess ink that's on your blending tool, and then you can go in with one of these colors. So here I'm going in with Viper, but you can see that's a lot lighter than Viper really is, right? But the really awesome part about that is then we don't need to go in with so many different colors on our layering stencil to add that shading. Now, of course, with the first one, we were adding oranges and reds, and so there you're getting different color tones. But if you just want it to be a green leaf and you want a little bit of shading in that leaf, but you don't want to have to bring out all the different tones and colors to blend those together, it's important that you guys have that versatility. So again, working on that Simon Hurley Create cardstock, because it's going to sink into the surface there. We've got our lightest coat of color on. And that on other cardstocks might be where you'd have to stop. Maybe you couldn't add that dimension that you wanted. But here I'm going to go in. I'm going to follow the direction of these leaves so you guys can see. Let me zoom in a little bit here so you guys can see a little more up close when I'm blending. So here I'm going to go in now, and I'm going to take that ink full concentration and go in and blend that out. And you can see, look at that shading. And then here, I'm following the direction where they come from the leaves, or where they come from the flowers, so that's why I'm kind of shifting my stencil and moving it around a little bit. I'm going to go up that vine. I'm going to go inside this area here. Again, I'm leaving the link in the chat for you guys to check out the new release. And then over here, we've got this one. So you guys can see that just going in with that same color, but adding a little bit more intensity, working on the right surface, you've got some really beautiful shading. And I'm giving you guys tips that work with my stuff, right? But I always encourage you guys. I get a lot of questions too, like, oh, will this product work with this? Will my ink work on this surface? And the best thing that you can do is just test that out. Because I sometimes have no idea, right? Sometimes we don't all use the same stuff. But if you've got something on hand that you think can work with that, of course, try it before you go out and buy anything new. Oh, that is awesome. That is just so stunning. And then, of course, we got a couple more leaves here. It's not meant for the leaves to be different colors. Of course, you could do that if you want to. It's just, like I said, we had to separate it so that your guys' stencils would stay nice and intact when you got them in hand. It's always important for me to be upfront about that stuff with you guys. I feel like seeing behind the scenes is kind of fun, but it's also like, oh, now I get why he did that, And there's usually reasons for everything. Why we do everything, there's usually a rhyme or reason for it. All right, so last set of leaves here. We'll go in with a little bit of Viper. We'll do a little bit of lighter shading. And also with these little stems, the stems are black, So if you've got the image stamped, you're not going to see too much of that color. But if you just use the stencil by itself, like I shared in some of the examples, and I was showing you guys and talking about it earlier, if you use that by itself, then you'll really notice that stem. And I was like, okay, we have to keep that stem in there, even though if you've stamped it, you might not notice it, but it wouldn't make sense to just leave that stem out if you're just using the stencil by itself. So that is the reason why that is there as well. All right. We are going to pull this one off. Guys, that is just jaw-dropping stunning. I love it. And I walked up to my kitchen the other day because I get a call to go eat every once in a while when the food is ready. And I walked up and showed my whole family this, and they were like, that? Now that is beautiful. And it's easy. So it's something that anybody can do. They were like, bets on who's gonna be able to do this. I bet I could do that, because it's just so simple to have that stencil and be able to blend through it and create this really beautiful colored background with not too much effort, right? You don't need to be a master blender in order to go in and just do this really easy blending on here. So I love how this one turned out. You guys can, of course, cut this out and use it on cards like I did, or you could just leave this as is and mount it on a slimline card panel and have a really beautiful card, or cut it down and mount it on an A2 size card. There's a lot of different things you can do with it, but it just creates such a beautiful and stunning background. All right, so let's clean off my work surface now. And using my dirty rag and a little bit of water. And then, of course, to clean the stencils, I want to talk about this too. This is probably the main reason why we did this. When people go in and clean their stencils, you're, of course, wiping back and forth. And we like to make sure that, like, whenever possible, we can make it as easy to clean. Because I don't want you guys to have to go in and go. Right? Like, and to make sure, you want to be careful with some areas of the stencil, like, that one's pretty simple, but like a lot of these flowers too, there's definitely still some points in there. So I encourage you guys to just go in with a little bit of water on the surface and do a little bit of blotting. Now, if you do go kind of back and forth, I don't think this one is too sharp on the edges where it's going to really catch you, but some stencils will. But that's why we separated it, so that in case when you're cleaning it, it's not gonna rip on you or anything like that. Beautiful. All right, I'll clean the rest later, but I wanted to give you an insight on that and just how to clean and things like that. So my inks clean off beautifully with water, but if you have to, you can of course go in with a little bit of stamp cleaner or anything like that to kind of clean that off of your stencil as well if you're using more permanent inks. But I like to just go in with inks that are kind of water-based like mine, so they blend really well on there. All right, guys, let's see. What do we want to do next? I think I'm going to go in. Let's try this out. I think this is fun. In the last live that I did, I really went heavy on showing the Christmas silhouettes. So if you want to see that fully in depth, check out that live to really see how to use these. And I'm going to make a whole video on this as well. So keep your eye out for that on my channel. And if I have time today, I might even walk you guys through how to do it. But I want to show these hot air balloons. Today's kind of all about stencils, to be honest, because there's so many stencils. These were all waiting on a ship. So naturally, they're all in. Oh, with this, you also do get the hot air balloon tops and the little baskets. This is because I wanted you to be able to grab the hot air balloon if you want, put ink on this or whatever, and then lay it down and do like a watercolor look. Or you can take this and use a little bit of pixie spray or whatever tape to tape it down, and then you can blend your background and not get in the way of your hot air balloons. So that's why these are included. They'll come on your stencil, and there's attached with stickers, and you can peel them off. All right, so let's go in here and do this next. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit of my mint tape. And again, this stamp set was supposed to be in the slimline release, mainly because I wanted you to be able to create a full scene. And although these aren't really slimline images, right, like we don't make our stamp sets just slimline size or things like that, they're very versatile as where you can use them on any card like I showed you earlier. But It was in the slimline release because I thought that these are great images to fill up a slimline card because they're quite long and tall. So you could really put a couple of them on the card and then put your bench down here or some trees. So that's really the thought behind it. All right, and then I'm gonna also quickly mask off the basket before we go and do any stenciling. All right, so the idea behind this was you could go in, I'm gonna go in with this one. So you can go in with a layer of ink first. So of course, I'm gonna go in with one of the blends that I said was gonna be my favorite. Guys, my ink drawer is filling up. I know so many of you were like messaging me and saying, oh my gosh, my ink storage is gonna fill up after you release more inks. And honestly, guys, I'm in the same boat as you. My ink storage is filling up and I think I'm gonna have to get a new one soon. So that's fun. All right, I'm gonna keep these colors out because I'm gonna use them again. Next, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of Love Struck. So this is a really fun color combination. We went in with a little bit of Crown Me first. Now we're bringing in some Love Struck. And again, blend it light, you get that kind of more pink tone. And then when you go a little bit heavier, you get more of that darker berry red color. I'm obsessed. All right, next I'm gonna go in with a little bit of Roar to blend this out. And again, super easy to color this in, right? We're not going with the markers, we're not going in and struggling with any sort of coloring medium. It's really just easily able to go in and blend down and color in with whatever colors we want to. Get a little bit of orange in there, and then we're gonna finish it off with one of my faves, Shooting Star. So bright and yellow and vibrant. I love it. And look how those blend together too. You just get a really seamless blend and it's not too much effort. So that is the hair balloon blended out, right? You could totally leave it there. This is perfect how it is. But we can also go in and do a little bit more of detail blending. So I'm gonna go in with Sweater Weather. This was actually in last year's holiday release, but it doesn't have to be a holiday pattern. I kind of like it where it kind of reminds me of like a hot air balloon design. I'm gonna go in here, lay the stencil down. I still have that mask stencil down first, so it's still gonna be covering up anything behind it. But then I'm actually gonna go in, just tape this down, just so things don't move on me. Actually gonna tape it down to the stencil below it. And then we can go in with those same exact colors, right? We're using the same ones. Here I'm going in with Crown Me, but I'm going in with a much heavier hand now. I'm adding lots more ink down the surface than I did before. So before I was going in with kind of a lighter hand when I blended that first layer, and now I am loading on the ink. And again, not to be a sales pitch, but it really is up to you. But this is where some people have messaged me saying that they struggle getting like, oh, how do I get that darker color? It's the same color, but sometimes if your cardstock doesn't take more ink, it's not gonna allow you to add that color down. So that's why it's important to have the right cardstock. A little bit of Roar on top. See, it's not even an attempt to be a sale pitch. It's really just like, I love the stuff that I made. And it was like, for me, I wanted to create a product line that I could just recommend to people and wholeheartedly recommend and not like switch up what I'm recommending every week, right? I just wanted some specific products that I absolutely loved for what I loved to do. So that's why I created these the way that I did. All right. So, and once again, you could totally stop there, right? That's a beautiful design. Yay. Janine said I bought that stencil too. She's channeling me. Yeah. Before you even knew it, you got it, right? So this is how we started this, right? But this stencil actually is a really great shifting stencil. And I think that my hot air balloon could use a little bit more design on it. So what I'm going to do is go in, shift my stencil a little bit, go in, tape that back down, and then I'm going to go in and do the exact same thing one more time. One more time, folks. Here, we'll go in a little bit of Crown Me, some Love Struck, some roar. And honestly, you could do tone on tone like I'm doing, or you could totally introduce new colors on top of the old ones. It really is up to you. And that's what I love about this creative process is I can kind of recommend things to you, but I know that you guys are gonna take this and run with it. Like maybe you add lunar paste on top of it through a stencil to give a little bit of shine. There's so many different opportunities for you guys to play and take the techniques that I have and run with them. Are you guys ready? Look how awesome doesn't that just like scream hot air balloon? So that's why I wanted this. When I first designed this hot air balloon set, I was like, oh, okay, well we could do a whole set with hot air balloons and we can give them like 5 different designs in that stamp set, and they're gonna have to color in each design. But this was the idea, right? When I designed this, I was like, no, I wanna give them the stamp set and make the hot air balloons pretty plain, right? They're not super detailed, but then you can go in and you can have so much fun by yourself using whatever stencil you have and really design this out. And there might be more stencils coming next year to kind of go along with this idea. So I'm gonna go in and just quickly mask off the top now. It's as quick as just moving the piece of mint tape. And I'm gonna go in with a little bit of gur and blend that down. Simple as that. All right. So now that that's finished, we've got our stunning hot air balloon. I love it, guys. Peel off my mint tape carefully so it doesn't rip my cardstock. How cool is that? And it just stays inside the lines perfectly. Like, I don't even know if I could stay in the lines that well if I tried to watercolor this in or anything like that. So now let's do the smaller one. I'm gonna go in, shift that just a little bit there. And this smaller one's even easier because it's just a littler surface area. I'm gonna tape off just the edges. This is just so that I don't go outside of the stencil. So just taping it down. Here I'm gonna add a piece of tape down onto the basket there. And then let's go in with a totally different stencil. What stencil should I use? This one's kind of fun. I think it's fun for the bigger one because I'm not so sure how well you're gonna see that. That's definitely an option. All right, let's see. Oh, I think I could show you something else. Let me show you guys this. Oh, should we? I'm not gonna try it on live, but you could also go in with stamps and stamp that down too. Like you could just stamp down little patterns, which is really easy and fun. All right, I found one. I know what I'm doing now. Or at least I know which one I want. There we go, bubble wrap. This is the one I was looking for. Sometimes it takes me a little while. There's a lot of stencils in the collection now. All right, so I'm gonna go in and start off with just some colors. Let's go in with, I know we want psych. Let's bring in a little bit of, we want no diving. What did I shove? Viper. All right. And then let's throw in a little clear skies too. All right. So let's go in. And for this, I'm gonna do this. Like that. Perfect. All right. So starting off with a little bit of psych, which is our yellowy green. Beautiful. Already off to a roll. Viper, which is that little bit darker green color. But again, look how well that blends with psych. It just creates that beautiful blend. It's almost in that same color family, but just a lot darker. All right. Then, you know what? Actually, then I'm going to do clear skies. And I love how these blues and greens blend together because clear skies is kind of a green-blue color. And then, last but not least, just need to find the blending tool I used for no diving. We can go in and add that to the top. Oh my gosh, I haven't had a blue like this before. It's just so beautiful. It's just so It's darker and it's really super vibrant. It's not as intense as Midnight Snack or anything, which is what I love about it. It's kind of a mid-tone bright hue. All right, so next I'm gonna go in then with, this is what happens at the end of lives, guys. Like after I've crafted and showed you guys everything, now it's just a hunting game. Now it's like whenever I wanna pick something up, I gotta look around, find it, because my desk just gets full. All right, so now we're gonna go in and do the exact same thing. And look, once again, we can really layer that color up a lot darker than it started out as. A little bit of clear skies in there. Blend that in. Viper. Beautiful. And then at the bottom, we'll go in with just a little tiny bit more of psych. All right, guys, time for the reveal. I like it. I like how that one turned out. And then of course, you could always go in and shift it one more time. I don't think that's necessary for this one. I'm just gonna leave it like that because it's a little bit more difficult because it's so much smaller, but it's still a larger pattern. So that's where more stencils would come in handy if you had littler ones. And then of course, that little guy at the bottom, that little basket. All right, guys. Oh, it looks like my tape had a little tiny bit of ink on the back of it. And there we go. So that is completely how I would do that. And I love how it turns out. So much fun. All right, I'm seeing you guys have so many comments. Janine says this is the only designer where it's okay to have full set syndrome. Janine, you are so sweet. Paula Loves Art said, I'm newer to Simon's products and I did that also last time I purchased. I got the new one and one of the older ones. Yes, that is so awesome. So let me just clean off my surface a little bit before we move on to the next step, because I think I'm going to finish off this card with you guys on here. So I want to keep going on the rest of the card. Now, one thing that I've learned is if you have a couple little tiny ink spots like this, you guys see those? That was from the back of the tape, just because I reused that piece of tape. Totally my fault, but go in and lift off a little bit of that ink off the surface with a mono sand eraser. And then also I'm going to be doing a little bit of ink blending later, so it's not going to be too big of a deal, but I wanted to just show you guys that you could go in and try to fix that issue a little bit. So let's go in next, and I want to show this. So in this stamp set, like I said, we're in a new set. There are these little stamps for the hot air balloon bottoms. So I'm gonna just go in. I'm gonna use one of my smaller acrylic blocks from my acrylic block set. Go in with a little bit of Gur, ink that up, and stamp it down. And look how cool that is. It almost gives it like a little basket weave texture, which I think is just adorable for these little hot air balloons. And then of course, gotta do that smaller one. How fun is that? It just gives that cute little texture on both of them and really finishes off the image. I like including little images like that where it helps to kind of ground things and finish everything off a little bit. All right, I think I'm gonna go in with, so I'm gonna do like a scene here. I wanna go in with just a little bit of this mint tape. Cool, that's perfect. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of masking. So I want to create a little hill. All right. Great. So I'm going to place this down here. It doesn't need to be perfect by any means, but I just want that little hill right there. And we are going to do this with a little bit of the Viper we'll go in with. And I'm just blending that over top. And then finishing off with maybe a little bit of overzealous at the bottom to kind of brighten things up. And if we want to, we can also just make it a little tiny bit darker. And this I'm just going to use a little bit of fake plant for. I love kind of mixing these greens. It almost brings in a whole different tone than you would usually get. So, all right, that is awesome. It looks great. I'm going to pull that off slowly and carefully so I don't ruin anything. And then what I'm going to do is, where's the bottom of that? All right, well, we don't really need that mask too much, but now I'm confused. I don't know where I put the other side of the mask, but usually you can mask off the grass then, but we don't really need to do that because we're just going in and creating a lighter sky with the Scene Maker stencil. So guys, this Scene Maker stencil is so awesome. You guys had sold it out quite a few times, but I think it is available on Ranger's site right now, which is awesome. I'm going to show you guys kind of how to use it with making some clouds. So I'm going to just tape off some of these images. The reason why we give you so many images is we want you to have as much as you need to play with. And then of course, all you got to do is just tape it off a little bit, mask it off to get the most use out of it. So for this, I think I'm going to go in with a little bit of clear skies. And I'm just going to go in right on the edge. All you need to do is go in really super lightly to add these clouds in. It doesn't need to be a lot. You don't want it to look like a lot of ink, just because it's going to seem like a little bit because you've got everything masked off. But once you see it against that white cardstock, it's going to look a lot different. And then look, so I've started over here now. And then all I need to do is lift this up, find a different hump on my stencil, and then go in and stencil up to that point. That's going to connect it, but it's also going to give you a different look than the last cloud. And then of course, you can turn your stencil over, get a totally different look that way. So you don't always need those different stencils that have like a million clouds on them to get the most use out of it. Like this is a really great set to give you different looks every time as you kind of turn and twist the stencil and use it on your card. And this is why I said we don't need to mask. I just kind of go really lightly up to the edge of everything and it works out really great. Alrighty. Going up to there, and then on this side I'll just continue with a couple more groupings of the clouds. And it's super easy to do. I just want to create a little sky for the rest of my images and to make kind of a scene on my card. All right, so there we have our clouds for our scene. Again, just using the Scene Maker stencil and creating something really super simple. Blanca says, ha, I have that cloud, mountain, sun, and stencil, and it is the most versatile stencil ever. Yes, the Scene Maker stencil is one of my faves. It is just such an absolutely versatile stencil that we created, which makes me so excited that you guys can use it for so many different things. All right, so let's finish things off here. I'm gonna go in with my Misty stamping tool. Go in at the bottom here. Just going to place this in. Because I'm finishing off my card, I don't want to ruin anything, so that's why I'm using my Misty here. But of course, you could have stamped this a while ago. But I'm going to go in with my bench. Line it up here. And a good rule of thumb is if you want things to be super straight, line it up on your Misty, and you can use those grid lines to really line things up and make sure that they are perfect. So that is what I always do when I'm using my Misty right at the end here, whether it's a sentiment or whether it is an image like this one, and you want to make sure that it's straight because you don't want to ruin your card right at the end. That is what these grid lines are really awesome for. So then of course, I'm going to get rid of some of those fuzzes on there. I'm going to go in, grab a little bit of my Jet Black Archival ink, ink this this image up. Alrighty. And then I'm just going to give some good pressure all the way around to stamp that down. Oh, I love it. Okay, and this is why we do things in the Misty stamping tool, so that if we need to, we can always stamp it again. Guys, good thing that I didn't stamp that right down. That would have been bad. So again, just go in, give some good pressure all over to stamp your image down. Awesome. So there we go. I love how that looks. It just finishes things off. I like that there's just a bench down there. It looks like a little park bench on my card. So I'm kind of obsessed with that image. And then, of course, we can go in, clean our stamp off quickly here. Clean everything a little bit better after the live. But then, of course, I just want a sentiment. So I'm going to go in and... Oh, I love that. That fits perfectly in there. You could either add it down there or like, I think adding a sentiment in there is going to be awesome. What do you guys think? Or I could do the unthinkable and cut my stamp. No, I kind of like brighter skies are ahead. So I'm going to add that sentiment in there, right where it fits, kind of nestle it in there. And then, yeah, that's so crooked. That's where these grid lines really come in handy. I'm telling you, these grid lines are lifesavers when it comes to the end of your card, because I'm like always stressing right at the end, because you got to put everything together and make sure that nothing gets ruined in the process. And so this makes it a lot easier with those grid lines. Awesome. A nice crisp black sentiment the first time. And I like how that really turned out just so beautiful. So then all I would need to do is go in. I'm going to grab a slimline card base. And like I said, these images, they don't need to be used on a slimline card. But look, that was just so easy to fill up that slimline card that's why I created it. It was like, I was like, these hot air balloons are really great for cards, but what if I want to create like benches and stuff at the bottom? And that's where I thought of this slimline design would be really awesome. So yes, that is, Janine said, is that one of your sentiments? Yes, that is one of the sentiments in the stamp set, Going Places. And then if you answered, yeah, one of my sentiments says You're Going Places. So you could always cut off your if you just want the Going Places sentiment. All right. Going to add this down onto my card. I've always liked to do this recently, guys. I just go in with the same pressure tool that I've been using for like my Misty stamping tool and everything, and I face it towards my desk to press things down, because otherwise we all know we got the inky fingers and it's gonna get ink all over the place. But how cool is that card? Really big focus on the stencils today, guys. The hot air balloon stencil to fill that in is just so much fun. And then of course, using lots of different stencils from the past to fill it in, to create the sky. There's a lot of different things you could do with it to really bring all your products together and get lots of versatility. All right, so someone said if you're looking for someone to send it to, I'm here for you. That's awesome. So guys, that is my full release. Again, like I said, I think that it really just comes together, ties everything all together as we finish off the year this year. And we went out with a bang with lots of new ink colors as well, which is just so, so exciting. So again, let me just go over quickly. Here are the brand new inks. We have Love Struck, Roar, Shooting Star, Viper, and last but not least, No Diving. So these are the brand new colors. I'm so proud and excited to add these to my product line, add them to the collection of inks, and I know you guys are going to love them and get so much use out of them. Guys, I've been using them for quite some time now as I've been testing them out, and I really just have used them so much behind the scenes because they fill in so many amazing gaps in the line. So I'm gonna leave the link down in the chat again. I know that Ranger has some bundles on their site as well. We'll close up my drawers as we're done crafting now. I know Ranger has some bundles on their site, so I know you can get the full ink pad bundle if you're new to the Simon Hurley Create Inks and you want everything. I believe they've included these 5 in that bundle now. And then also they have the 5 inks if you've already got all the other ones and you just want these new ones. And then they also do have the full release without the inks, just all the stamps and stencils if you missed out on those as well. And of course, the rest of the site has all of the rest of my products. So if you want to stock up on stamping foam, lunar paste, acrylic blocks, anything like that, it's all going to be on that page, on that link that I sent out in the chat. So be sure to check that out if you guys want to help support me. It really is amazing. And also, guys, I so appreciate all of your amazing comments and joining me for today's launch. I am just so overwhelmed with excitement, and I'm so appreciative of all of your amazing support. It means the world to me, and it also means the world to me. I was crafting yesterday, and I'm gonna have to get a new bin. Can I pull this out? There are so many stamps in here, guys, like so many. Look at that. Do you guys see that? And then there's all the background stamps in front, and I'm running out of room in my bin. So I'm gonna have to get a whole nother bin. And I remember like the first time I had this bin was when I had 3 stamp sets and 3 background stamps. And so it really means the world to me, your guys' support for this product line, because it just means we can move further and keep evolving our designs and keep bringing you guys amazing new products as we create. And Ranger also gets a little bit more trust in me the more support you guys show. So it means the world to me. Ranger, thanks for being here. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining. I recognize all of these amazing names in here, and it really means the world to me. So I'm going to hop off now, and I'm going to go post more on social media. And also, thanks to everyone in the Ranger team for being here. I see Ellen here. They have done so much amazing support, whether it's packaging design or making sure that the website is running smoothly and making sure all the SKUs are there and fixing some of the issues we had with some of the products that I described today. So they really are amazing as well, and they deserve a huge shout out. So thank you everyone at Ranger as well. All right, guys, have a wonderful and blessed day, and I'll see you all very soon. Thanks for joining me.